always have more members coming in. And as you can see, just the ones that we just inducted, I mean, what a great thing that's going on in our club. And it's really fun for myself and Marge to be able to be with the STARS program, because then we get to see everybody coming in. And this group that we had our second class today, they are going to be really awesome. I was just telling Carol, I didn't even have to do an icebreaker with them, which I normally have to do to pull things out of them, but they were just talking about the project, and they're so excited, and that is very exciting for our club to be able to bring in some exciting members. So we are finishing up our spring class, or were you guys in the fall class. We're still working on those new member profiles. So we are doing that today, and then we'll start with our next class. So it's really, really exciting. So the first one to go is Jessica Kirby, and her sponsor is My Cuff. And what I need everyone to do is smile and be very, very accepting, because she's like super nervous. So I told her to look at Dorsey Hightower, because he always has that face. So get it ready. Get the smile ready.
Thank you, Lori. All right. Hello, everyone. My name's Jessica Kirby. I was born in DeLand, Florida in 1981 to my parents, Jay and Sue Cummings. I grew up in a very small town called DeBary, Florida, if anybody's ever heard of that. DeBary was actually incorporated on December 31st, 1993 as the city of DeBary. But growing up, it was just a little town for me. So, and it only covers 25 square miles. I'm one of 4 children. I have an older brother and sister and a younger brother. My dad worked as a cable splicer growing up, so he was out of town a lot of the time. And my mom was a stay-at-home mom, but to make extra money, she would make jewelry in her room and she would sell it. So she spent a lot of time in her bedroom working, which left me and my brothers and sister to wreak havoc all over the house. Our favorite game was The Floor is Lava, if anybody knows that game. I don't know when it was called that game, but we'd take anything in the house and throw it all over the place so that our feet wouldn't touch the floor. You just jump on everything except the floor. So I'm sure it drove my mom absolutely nuts. Another fun fact about me, my parents were bird breeders growing up. So we had an aviary attached to the house, and at one point me and my sister counted, we had 260 birds. Most of them were parakeets. They'd breed different ones to come up with different colors to sell to the pet shops. But we had cockatiels, finches, doves, ringnecks, and then other breeds that I can't remember the names of. But it was very loud and it was messy, and I will never own a bird to this day. I like looking at them, but I don't want one. My parents divorced, unfortunately, when I was 12, which was kind of rough for my siblings and I, and my mom. It was really hard on her. So she ended up going back to school to be a registered nurse when I was a teenager, and really became my hero. My mom is probably the strongest person that I know. She taught me and my brothers and sister to love completely, that there's not room in your heart for hate, and to always treat others the way that you want to be treated. And I tried to teach that to my kids and really live by that my whole life. So how did I end up here? I started working when I was 15 because, again, my mom had done her thing. I needed to help her make my own money if I was going to be able to drive my car anywhere, right? So I started working when I was 15. My first job was outbound sales, selling vacation packages. So when you guys fill out the thing for the free vacation, it actually comes to somebody that calls and sells you a vacation package. So that's what I started at, and I was commission only, but I was happy making any money at that age. After that, I had a job selling carpet cleaning appointments out of the phone book. So I would take my little white pages, and I literally would call one by one and try to set up carpet cleaning appointments. And I was pretty successful there too. So little jobs like that until in 2002, I finally, my mom had moved out here to Polk County to be with her friend. Her friend had come here. So I needed my mom. I was like 18 at the time, and I wasn't doing so well. I needed my mom, right? So I said, Mom, can I come live with you? And I ended up out in Green Swamp is where she lived, like past Dean Still off of 33, if anybody knows where that is. So I moved from this little tiny town to this really, really little tiny town. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking around and thinking, what have I done? Because there's nobody here. I don't know how I'm ever gonna find a job. All that's around is orange groves and fields. But finally I found Lakeland. I actually found I-4, ventured to Lakeland, and found the Lakeland Square Mall. So I was happy again. I'm like, oh, there's people here. So I got a job there part-time at a little store called On the Edge, if anybody remembers that in the mall. I worked there part-time, and then I got a second job at Hungry Howie's in Polk City, delivering pizza. These were not jobs that I was used to, but I needed to make money, so I did what I had to do, right? I met my husband in Lakeland in 2002, and then we were married here in Lakeland in 2005. Our daughter was born in 2003 and son in 2006, both in Lakeland. So I guess you could say that all of the loves of my life were met here in Lakeland. Our kids are teenagers now. They're both first-degree black belts in Taekwondo. My daughter Aubrey is 16 years old. She's a junior at Chain of Lakes Collegiate High School at Polk State in Winter Haven. And my son is 13, Zachary. He's in 8th grade, and he attends Berkeley Accelerated Middle School in Auburndale. Aubrey wants to save the ocean, and Zach wants to design video games, and we support them 100% in whatever they want to do. Some of our favorite things to do as a family, we love fishing. We have a boat. I like to stay in the flats because I get seasick, but my daughter and my husband love to go deep sea fishing. We go to Marathon every year for a trip, so we go mahi fishing there. We also love Disney World. We just got passes last year, and it's the best my kids ever get along is when we're at Disney. So I'll probably continue keeping passes as long as they're with us. And then we love the mountains too. In the winter, we like to visit North Carolina. We've been to the Beach Mountain, Sugar Mountain area. That's as far as we've ventured, but I have another trip planned for this winter, so we'll go again and maybe go to a different spot. So when the kids were born, my husband and I decided that I would stay home with them until they could talk, because I just didn't trust people, right? You have to know, and they have to tell me what's going on at daycare. So I didn't really go back to work until 2008. And that's when I got a job with Bright House Networks. I've always been really proud to work for Bright House. The company really did care so much about customer relationships as well as their employees, and that's what I wanted in a career. They always tried to promote within the company. The training they provided to their employees was absolutely amazing, and the staff was wonderful. And some of the best people other than you guys came from Bright House. About 3 years ago, our company merged and we became Spectrum. As with change, I mean, some were good, some were bad. You kind of rolled with the punches at that point. But through that, I was able to find my next career move, which is now Spectrum Business. I began taking care of small, medium business customers last year, and I really, absolutely love it. The main thing is now I'm face-to-face, so I can take care of my customer better. Before, when you're on the phone, you talk to them one time, and you are probably never going to talk to that customer again. But now my customer has my phone number. They can call me. If you ever need anything, you don't have to call an 800 number. So it definitely, I absolutely love it, and it makes me appreciate my job. But most of all, I love that this career has given me the knowledge of Rotary and the flexibility to be able to be part of this amazing club. Because honestly, I feel so sorry to say this, but I did not know what Rotary was until last year whenever I started inquiring about different things I could do. Not because I wouldn't have loved to be part of this club, but really because when you're attached to a call center and you don't have time, you don't have the flexibility to be able to do anything like this. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you to my sponsor, Mike Huff, for bringing me into this club. And thank you to all of you for being so inviting and allowing me to be part of something so wonderful.
I couldn't tell she was nervous. I think she did a great job. You guys must have done a great job smiling and nodding, so good job. So does that mean you're going to give out your phone number to all of us that have Spectrum? Okay, great. So we have to call the 1-800 number. Awesome. Okay, so our next new member is Vivek Patel, and he was brought in by Kim Brunson. So Mike Huff and Kim Brunson, they're like on I think a competition of who's bringing in who.
Good afternoon, everybody. So my name is Vivek Patel, and because Lori just mentioned it, I actually reached out to Rotary online, and Mike Huff was the first person who reached out, and then eventually Kim became my sponsor. So they've been more than welcoming, especially for somebody who's pretty much, I guess, a cold call. So the picture on the bottom right, that's of my father. He has a pretty interesting story. So he was a part of the Lions Club, boo, right? So in India, in his early 20s, through the Lions Club, he got an opportunity to go on a world bicycle tour, and their main cause that they were championing was, to help people who were blind. So he got to go to 22 different countries throughout Africa, Europe, the UK, and then eventually America. When he came here, my mom was already here in Houston, Texas, and they actually got married in Houston, Texas. So that's the story of my father. My father moved to Lakeland in 1989. The reason I'm talking about my father is I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for him. And his experiences pretty much led to the life that I'm living as well. So my father moved to Lakeland in 1989. He purchased a gas station on East Highlands, Wabash area. You guys know that's not exactly the crown jewel of Lakeland. So it was, pretty bad, or even worse back then. So the gas station he purchased, it was called Sonny's. It was right next to the Cumberland Farms, which was a lot bigger. They actually shared a wall. The Cumberland Farms had gas pumps, all that kind of stuff. And my dad, with whatever money he had, he bought this. And eventually, Cumberland Farms went out of business. He bought them, and now he made a new gas station, a new plaza, and he has several other business opportunities. So that's just, a living embodiment of the American dream. So after my parents got married, they moved to Chicago. My mom worked the second shift and overnight at Solo, the plastic cup company that we usually drink out of. And my father worked almost 18 hours a day back then. So they moved here. I was born in Chicago. I lived with my grandparents in Houston for 2 years. We moved here when I was 4. I have a younger brother. He was born in Lakeland Regional. And, we live pretty much 3 miles away from there now. The picture on the top left, that's the Sun and Fun Festival around 1994. And it's one of our favorite pictures, my brother, my mom, and I, for different reasons. I like the picture because me and my brother don't really look alike. We have a running joke. I know it's kind of inappropriate that, he might be the milkman's son or something. So my mom used to dress us alike. That's my favorite picture. My brother's favorite picture is, you guys can probably see in the top left, there's a man casually picking his wedgie again. That's why it's his favorite picture. Next slide. So through my parents, luckily, I've had the opportunity to have, pretty much a world-class education right in Polk County, right in Lakeland. I went to elementary school in Churchwell, in North Lakeland. Middle school at Lawton Childs. Actually in 6th grade it was still called Lakeland Middle Academy. And then I got to go to the IB program at Bartow High. So at that time, there wasn't another IB school. Polk Collegiate High School wasn't really up and running. So an interesting fact about my class, we started with about 80 people in the IB program. My senior year, we only had about 50. But the person who was very last in our class in terms of GPA, he still got into UF. So it was a lot of, it was a great group to be around to push. We had 2 people with perfect SATs, another one with a perfect ACT. We had people go to Harvard, MIT, Duke, Vandy. So it was, it was a great positive peer pressure type of group to be around. And I know there's a lot of stuff in the paper and in the commission meetings right now about, attracting, high-level people back. But you guys should know that there's a lot of homegrown people who are still here as well. The middle picture is at my wedding. I got married in 2017 in Atlanta, Georgia. And obviously you can see there's a lot of confused people. There's people with Gator signs, USF signs, all sorts of things. I did my undergrad at the University of Florida. Now it's number 7 in public school ranking. Back then I know President Bernie Manchin was trying to get it into the top 10. Luckily I was there when we won 4 national championships, 2 football championships and 2 basketball championships. So it was definitely a fun time. On the bottom left is Lee Humphrey, if any of you guys followed the basketball team. I got to do research with him regarding rotator cuffs, and he still holds a lot of 3-point records at UF. On the right is Maurice Spakes, who's now in the NBA, or he was. These are some of the service trips that I got to do while I was at UF. So during spring breaks, there's something called alternative spring break. So you would, devote your week to doing a new service project. So this is something in Snellville, Georgia. I remember 2 weeks ago, I believe during the Veterans Day program, there was someone who does equine therapy for people with PTSD. So this was something similar in Snellville, Georgia. And the person who's in charge of it is, he used to be one of the county commissioners. And his whole thing is for children with autism, if they go, on a horse for maybe even half an hour, that they see so many better results. And obviously it's underfunded, all that kind of stuff. So we went over there and helped with upkeep and stuff like that. I got to go to a medical mission trip in Peru as a part of undergrad as well. We got to go to Machu Picchu during our downtime, got to see a lot of stuff. And the main purpose was to do a fluoride campaign for people, or for kids who live in rural areas. We get that, in our drinking water and toothpaste and stuff like that. But for that, one of the most preventable causes of their, dental caries and stuff like that was something so small. So I remember during STARS, one of my interesting facts, I believe past President Joel Ruthven said it. So we were a group of 10 UF kids, and we went on top of Machu Picchu, and we didn't know that the final bus that went down was at 6 p.m. So we all stayed over there when it closed. So all we had were, pretty much our iPhone flashlights, and we walked all the way down, which is about probably, I would guess, 3/4 of a mile to a mile journey back down. So that was interesting. We heard animals and all sorts of things. Something that my parents were probably not proud of when I told them. And all these people in the white coats, they're all either physicians or in the health professions now. So everyone turned up. Another story that made me really proud to be, I guess, an American was in 2006, me and 3 close friends, we got to go backpacking through Europe. So on one of the sleeper trains from Nice, France to Rome, we were sleeping, I guess, and then 10 minutes before we were supposed to get off, we all wake up, and I was sleeping on my backpack. My backpack wasn't there. So that was a time when we didn't have e-tickets. I lost my passport, I lost my traveler's checks. I just converted about probably $1,000 into euros because it was a good rate. I lost that, I lost my camera, my laptop, all that kind of stuff. But luckily, in Rome, we went to the embassy after filing a police report, and within the day, with no photo ID, no nothing, just having my social security number memorized, they were able to give me a new passport. So there were two other compartments with Canadians, and I know that they were in Rome for a while trying to get, themselves situated. So that shows us, the far reach of our great country. That's me at the Vatican. The picture on the top left is last year we surprised my mom for her 60th birthday at Fort DeSoto Beach. These are some pictures of my wedding in 2017. Obviously a lot of color. On the top left, I'm a poor man's Ryan Gosling, as I'd like to say. I know. So a lot of color, as you guys can see. If you guys ever have any questions about Indian weddings, I know you guys have heard and seen things, I'd be happy to expand upon that. These are some pictures of some of my vacations. So before Ryan Gosling, I guess I was trying to go for a Fabio look, and I had my hair grown out. And mainly it was a gym bet that I had with a friend that until we reached a certain weight, I couldn't get a haircut. So you see some of that. These are some of the things that, I guess, hobbies that I'm into now. I've been lucky to help plan a charity walkathon in Tampa for the last 5 years, and before that I was a part of it. So the last 3 years we've raised almost $10,000 for the Hillsborough County Fire Rescue Foundation. And last year we had 700 walkers. So that was pretty a big achievement for our organization. I really love basketball. I go to about 4 to 5 Orlando Magic games every year, huge sports fan. Tampa Bay Bucks. I played Little League Baseball when I was younger at Duff Field for almost 6 years. This is a picture with me and Governor DeSantis from last week when I got to celebrate Diwali with him. And that's pretty much it for me. So I had 2 quotes that I like to live by. First and foremost, my faith in God is something that definitely motivates me. Another quote that I had is from my guru, Brahma Maharaj, and it's, "In the joy of others lies our own." And that's one of the main things that led me to Rotary. And last but not least, a quote that I try to live by I really think that intention matters a lot. So the quote is that watch your thoughts, for they become words. Watch your words, for they become actions. Watch your actions, for they become habits. Watch your habits, for they become character. Watch your character, for it becomes your destiny. So I'm glad and I'm so thankful that I'm, able to be surrounded by such movers and shakers, giants. The person following me, the main course, he's going to talk about how much Rotary, has changed and how big of an impact it's had. So thank you, everybody.
Again, it's part of, one of our favorite parts of Rotary is these new member profiles. It's really amazing. So last but not least, we have Fred Oders. I'm sure some of you know him. But he was presented to me one time as Mr. Rotary. So he's going to tell us all about himself and how Rotary has changed his life.
Thank you. We're out of time. Yeah, it's just great to see this side of you guys, because I usually sit back there and that side's not real attractive. But this is 14 years ago in Dayton, Ohio, Fred and Helen Oders brought home their firstborn, Mom. After I graduated from high school, I attended a small Lutheran college in Columbus, Ohio, and majored in history, which isn't real practical when it gets into the business world. But I wasn't too concerned, because then I went across the street and I attended Trinity Lutheran Seminary with the idea of becoming a minister. And during my time in the seminary, I met the former Miss D. Herndon of Lakeland, Florida. We were married, and shortly after the wedding, we packed everything up, all 6 pieces, and moved to Wheeling, West Virginia, where I did a 1-year internship in a church there. When the internship was over, we packed everything up, still 6 pieces, and moved back to Columbus, where I finished my final academic year. I graduated and I was ordained as a Lutheran pastor, and we packed everything back up again, and we moved to Texas, where over the next 4 years, I served 2 different congregations in the San Antonio area. In 1976, it came to me that this really wasn't my calling in life, to be a full-time pastor. So we packed everything up again and moved to Lakeland, Florida. We were here about a month when I met a man who wanted to open a business down in Sebring doing remodeling construction. So we packed up, moved to Sebring. 9 months later, you guessed it, it didn't work out. We packed up, we moved back to Lakeland. Are you getting a sense of what's going on here? So did my wife. She says, are you ever going to keep a job, and are we ever going to stay in the same place very long? I then got on with a RV dealership here in town, and I was the service manager for a while. And while I'm doing that, I'm helping one of my brother-in-laws remodel a houseboat. And while we're working on this houseboat, he asked me if I would be interested in coming to work for him at the Herndon Insurance Agency, which I did. Became a partner, and this is hard to believe, I understand, but for the next 22 years, I stayed in the same position. And much to my wife's pleasure, we've lived in the same house now for over 30 years, so there's hope, guys. After I retired in 2000, retirement lasted about a week, and I got hired on at the Walt Disney World, working on the golf courses. Now, it's hard to say work with a straight face when you're working on a golf course, but I worked for the Mouse for 11 years, then I retired, came back, and now I work at Ace Hardware in Southgate Shopping Center 2 days a week when I'm not traveling. So you can find me there occasionally. Back in the late 1970s, I started getting involved in community affairs in Lakeland when I joined the Lakeland JCs. But the JCs were kind of unique in that when you turned 36, they kicked you out. They gave you the exalted title of Exhausted Rooster. and said, go somewhere else and do something. Well, I was explaining this concept to a group of club presidents throughout Lakeland. And Dorsey Hightower came up to me and says, let's talk about Rotary. So good or bad, it's his fault, okay? So I joined this club in 1981, and it's been a great journey ever since. I've been very privileged and honored to be a part of this club. I've served on most of its committees. I was president in 91, 92. I'm currently your sergeant at arms, but you have no idea what that does, because I don't know what it does. One of the really neat things about my time in Rotary was the people I've met from around the world, because I've been on 3 exchange groups, 2 to Denmark, 1 to England, and my wife and I have hosted probably 20, 25 people from around the world, all over the world, Australia, Russia, Israel, South America. And that's when you really begin to understand what Rotary is all about. When you sit down with these people of another culture, or another country, and talk about the same problems we're having and how they solve them. And I've been richly blessed by my time in this club. As I look out here, I can tell you honestly that most of my closest and dearest friends are sitting in this room right now. And I invite you to embark on a similar journey. Thank you.
Welcome new members, you're great. Okay, Mark Hutek, 50-50, got it.